Welcome to Happy Clubhouse with a review of the Bandai high-grade Universal Sentry 1144 Gogg from the very beginning of the HGUC line as its 8th release. Now, don't dismiss this kit so easily as just something way outdated. The HGUC line was very new at the time and Bandai was eager to show off some new approaches to make the best kit that they could out of a classic design, which is what we're going to look at today. Getting right down to business, this kit was released back in March of 2000 for just 864 yen. The box art here is credited to Shino Masanori, who basically did all of the early box illustrations in the line. And the box itself measures 25.5 by 19 by 6.5 centimeters, which is the shorter box that we only saw back in the beginning of the HGUC releases. The front of the box lets the chunky Gogg do most of the work, and you're either gonna love its round and alien design or be really put off by its plain brown color. The side of the box shows off the front and the back of the Gogg with some in-universe flavor text. And then the other side has studio shots of the different features, which you may already know isn't really a ton of stuff for this kit. These very old boxes are also slightly different and have nothing but text on the short side, and they use the older slanted fonts versus the newer straight ones. Inside the box, we get the entire kit across just 5 runners. That's it, and they aren't even big ones. One of them is for the polycaps, and we don't get any clear pieces. So the motto eye is just going to be exposed on the head. But this is true for all early HGUC releases of Zeon mobile suits like the Zaku and the Goof. We get a small sheet of stickers that are just for the eye part, which is disappointingly in yellow. It's a little disappointing since the kit actually does have black parts, but it's likely that they ran out of space on the A runner. Then, we get a set of instructions with some colored shots of the kit on the back to go with the coloring guide. And on the inside, we have a more detailed look at the kit along with illustrations used to design this HGUC kit. The black and white side is all for assembly instructions. So after about an hour of assembly, we have the completed Gogg. And right here without the eye sticker, the kit really doesn't look right at all, so you'll at least want to use that black sticker, but that has its own problems as you can see right here. The dome surface really doesn't play nice with the sticker and it's not going to sit too nicely. It's not that big of an issue after you put the top of the head back on, but it's still not ideal, so here I'll demonstrate how easy it is to color this part with a black Gundam marker to avoid that problem altogether. For the mono eye itself, you'll want to put it on after you reassemble the head, or else it'll be very hard to tell if the eye is really where you want it to be. You'll need some tweezers or a toothpick for this, as the slit for the eyes is a little bit narrow. But other than that, the colors of the Gogg are actually accurate and complete. We have the dark brown that makes up the main tone of the body, and then the muddy yellow parts like on the waist and the arms, and we get the mega particle cannons on the stomach that are done nicely in red. This was Bandai showing off its color separation skills back in 2000, and it still looks good today. The smaller cannons on the side should be gray, and I suspect if the Gogg was made today, those would be a separate part as well. But what's even more ambitious for its time is the Gogg's seamless design. Here, the arms separated into different parts, and each segment is one single molded piece, so there's no seam line anywhere along the arm until we reach the palm. The shoulder armor is also one continuous piece here as well, which is something we've recently seen carried forward into the HGUC Zeon's design as well. And this is really good for Zeon mobile suits because they all have round designs that look quite bad whenever they have seams. The head is also one whole piece, as are the feet. The most prominent seams are these running down the side of the entire torso, and these on the lower legs, which aren't too hard to take care of. Overall, you can see that Bandai really tried new approaches in making kits that have never looked this good before 2000. And let's take a closer look at the most important part of a Gogg, its long arms. Each segment here is individually articulated with a ball joint, and the palm can further swivel along an axis. The iron nails are each on its own ball joint, so you get really expressive hands that will do all the things you want it to do with the Gogg. And naturally, you can have it catch the Gundam Hammer like it did in the animation, though you'll immediately notice that the animation cheated and made the hammer much bigger than it ought to be. But what's more, you can put the arms into this retracted position by pulling off the entire arm, taking off the middle segments, and then reattaching this frontmost part onto the shoulder armor and the pegs here. And once you know the pegs are there, they do kind of stick out, and then you tuck the iron nails and the palms into the shoulder, and you have the Gogg in its cruising mode. Now this kit came way before action bases were a thing, so of course it doesn't have any holes for it. But this kit really badly needs them because there's really no way to display a Gogg moving horizontally in the water unless you make it plank on your shelf. One remedy is to drill a hole into one of these 3 thrusters on the bottom, which can disguise the hole a little bit. Now, I'm really not a big fan of drilling holes like this because they tend not to hold the kit up very well, but the Gogg really does need it, and you really want it on display like this. As for accessories, there aren't any. The Gogg is one of those what you see is what you get Zeon mobile suits with everything built into the body, and it doesn't use any handheld weapons, so you might be a little underwhelmed by what you get in the box. This is a case where either you'll really like the design as it is, or else the Gogg doesn't have a lot to work with to change your mind. But looking at what we do get on the body, the legs have some inner details that you can see showing between the parts. And of course, they improved this even further later on with kits like the Act Guy and made the details like this in grey, but for the time, this was a new level of detail that was quite impressive. But moving on to the articulation, starting from the top, the head connects with the ball joint, but it can really only turn left or right. And even for that, it only turns a little bit. If you turn it too far, the head will be pushed off the ball joint, but to be fair, the actual MS itself couldn't turn its head that much either. The shoulder armor can rotate around on its own, and the whole arm can swing a full circle. The arms swing outwards this much, and we've already seen the articulated arm segments and the palm earlier. And even though it looks like the middle section is separate, there's only a single joint at the bottom of the waist, so the dip forward is quite small. There is no waist bend backwards. The thighs can be adjusted on a ball joint, and the leg kicks up about 90 degrees even though there's no skirt armor blocking it, and they can swing back this much. The knee is double jointed, but the bulk only allows for a limited knee bend close to 90 degrees. One flawed point out here is that the tiny polycap for the knee on the thigh just doesn't fit very well and was quite loose on my kit. Maybe it's because of the aging mold that they're using for the kit, or maybe it's just an oversight of the kit itself, but this is something you're gonna encounter nonetheless. And the feet at the bottom here can swing up this much, and they go back this much, and they go side to side quite a bit to keep the feet planted onto the ground. Over 20 years later, the articulation here gets a bare pass. I can't say it's any less than any other kit from 2000, but it's true that you're gonna feel pretty limited by the range of motion when you're trying to pose it and get it to look good. Sure, the arms are wonderful and they're very expressive, but they can only carry the whole team so much if the other parts really don't pull enough of their weight. It's just good enough for the Gogg, and that's good because this certainly isn't high on Bandai's priorities to ever get a revive kit. For size comparisons, here's the lower end benchmark, the entry grade RX-78. And then, here's the upper end benchmark, the high grade new Gundam. The Gogg surprisingly is only about as tall as a Gundam, and the girthy body makes you think that it's bigger than it really is, but actually it's just a chubby boy. And as usual, the new Gundam towers above both of them. With all that said, here's a Hobby Clubhouse 3-point verdict on the Bandai high grade Universal Sentry 1144 Gogg. Number 1, it's a fine Gogg kit. There's not a lot to complain about this kit if what you want is a Gogg. It looks like a Gogg, it doesn't need you to fix too many flaws like seam lines, and they didn't cut too many corners like on the arms. And 2 decades later, this kit is a good representation of the character. And number 2, it's a Gogg. It's chunky, and it doesn't have the most appealing colors. There's not a lot to discover and explore when you look at the kit, and what you see is basically what you get, and for many people that's just not very exciting. Fans will love it exactly for being a Gogg, but new fans may not find as much to love about it. And number 3, it's a good blank canvas, because at the same time, this kit has large surfaces free of panel lines and decorations, and the drab color means it's open for builders to paint it and reimagine its looks, and what's more, the build is simple and it's not expensive. So this is a great candidate that's friendly to starting builders who want to try doing a custom interpretation of a kit. Sure, the base kit isn't all that exciting, but it also means that it's open for you to make a Gogg that will grab the eyes of people and inspire them. So that's a review of the HGUC Gogg. It's old and it's not going to win any beauty contests, but maybe you'll find some good reasons here and there to go and get yourself one. Thank you so much for watching. Come look us up on social media with updates on upcoming videos and sneak peeks at future projects. Links are in the description below. Or hang out here some more with one of these other videos. But before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new videos from Poppy Clubhouse, and I'll see you next time.